So we'll continue learning about the counting and totaling. So in our next example here, what we can say, the question is, write an algorithm using pseudocode or program flowchart only that input a series of positive number. That means we don't know how many numbers, right? A series of positive number. That means the n numbers. We don't know how many numbers, but we know when to stop it. That means -1 is used to terminate the input. So if you input -1, the job will be terminated. After that, what we have to do, once you input the number, you have to find out how many, that means counting, numbers were less than 1,000 and how many numbers were greater than 1,000. So the tricky point here is only we have to input a series of number, but we don't know we don't know how many numbers are there, but we know when to stop it. So in that case, we have to use, you can use repeat until loop. So as I explained you while do end while before. So here in this, using this exam type question, we will learn how to use repeat until loop. Okay. So what are the different types of number? There are two types of number. One is less, another is greater than 1,000. Right. So we can write less a0 and greater a0. So this is a bit complicated type of question because in the exam time you have to decide and you have to answer within 5 minutes, right? If the total marks is 5, our strategy will be, if it's marks 5, we have to complete it in 5 minutes. So you have to think, you have to analyze, and you have to check your knowledge. You have to understand the logic in these 5 minutes, and we'll have first make a plan how you're gonna solve it. Then you have to know what are the variables that you will be use, right? What are the loop you have to use? What is the output you need to show? So first make a plan for 30 seconds, 30 seconds to 1 minute. Then within 3 to 4 minutes, you have to complete writing the question. Okay. So here we'll write here repeat, input the number. What I'm gonna do here is if the number that I input is not equals to -1, is not equals to -1, what I'll do, then I have the permission to go inside, right? If number not equals to -1, for example, okay, you input 100. 100 is not equals to -1. Okay, then now what type of number is this? Is it greater than 1,000 or it is less than 1,000, right? So we have to decide embedded if another if, okay? So if the number that I input is less than 1,000, then less will increase by 1, less plus 1. And here else if the number that I input is greater than 1,000, then greater will increase by 1. That's it. Then we write here end if. And this if also we need to close. And if. Then until when? So repeat until the number is equals to -1. Okay, that's it. Let us show it in full screen. So now print total number less than 1,000 total number less than 1000 is less, and total number greater than 1000 is greater. Right? How it works? So first you will input the number. For example, you input 100. Number is not equals to -1, right? Number equals to -1. No, that means it will go inside. Then 100 is less than 1000. Yes, so less will increase by 1. 100 is greater than 1000. No, so greater will be. Then again we will go in again. The loop will go on. Input number. Now input -1, for example. Number not equals to -1, but here number is equals to -1. It will come here. Number is equals to -1. Yes, here is -1, here is -1. That's why it will go outside. Okay, so this is a very good question. You have to understand it properly, practice several times to understand the logic. Okay, and to move forward. So let's talk about another different types of questions, which is also a bit complicated. Complicated in, I mean to say, in terms of exam time. Okay, because exam time you have very less time, and in this less time you have to complete all 75 marks. So it's not easy to understand the logic immediately, or it's not easy like you get the question immediately. So you have to think. So for thinking we need time, and time is very useful here, right? So we need to practice a lot. So in this full lesson of counting and totaling, we discuss about a lot of different types of questions. So if you practice these all different types of questions 2 to 3 times, so it will help you to understand your critical thinking, to improve your critical thinking, and help you to get a good grade. So let us start this one. Write an algorithm using pseudocode or program as a flowchart that input 50 numbers. So again, we have to use for loop because they said how many numbers, 50 numbers, and 4 separate digits. So digits are, the numbers are having 4 digits. So first digit, second digit, third digit, and fourth digit. Output the percentage of the numbers that are palindromes. So for example, I don't know what is palindromes is. So the question setter will help me to understand what does it mean by palindrome. Note, a palindrome reads the same way backward and forward. For example, 1331 is a palindrome, but 1541 is not. That means 1331, 1331. If you write 1 here, if you write 3 here, if you write 3 here, and if you write this 1 here, so 1331, right? So it's the same thing. So if you reverse a number and you get the same number, it's called palindrome. That is the word they give you as a note. Use separate variables to store the separate digits of a number. For example, D1, D2, D3, and D4. So our first job is to prove that, right? Our first job is to prove that the number is a palindrome. If it is a palindrome, then number of palindrome will increase by 1. So we'll calculate throughout the loop how many palindromes do we have, and then outside the loop we will find the percentage of the numbers which are palindrome and print out the result, right? We don't need to print how many are palindrome. We need to print what is the percentage of number out of 50 numbers that are palindrome. I hope it's clear to you. So let's start. So how many palindrome do we have? At the beginning, number of palindrome is 0. Okay. So for count is 1 to 50. Input. So we cannot write the number itself. We have to divide the number. For example, your number is 1331. So first digit is D1, then D2, D3, and D4. So what is the logic behind a palindrome? So we can understand that. You can see here, for example, this is D1, this is D2, this is D3, this is D4. So D4 come in the place of D1, and D1 goes to the place of, this is 1, right? Come to the place of D1. And D2 goes to the place of D3, and D3 goes to the place of D3, D2. Right? So this pair and this pair must be same. Because 1 is goes to 4, that means if D1 is equals to D4 and D2 is equals to D3, then what's gonna happen? That means this number is a palindrome. Right? D1 should be equals to D4 and D4 should be equals to D1. Like 1, 5, 5, 1. See here, D1 and D4 should be same, and D3, D2 and D3 should be same. Then only it will be a palindrome. Okay? I hope the logic is clear to you. If it is like that, if D1 is equals to D4 and D2 is equals to D3, then palindrome will increase by 1. That's it. And if the question is big, but solution is small, because you need to think about it. Next count. Now, percentage of palindrome is, we have 50 numbers. Out of 50, how many palindrome we have? Whatever it is, the value. For example, out of 50, 20 numbers are palindrome. So 20 divided by 50 multiplied by 100. Whatever the result is, it will be calculated and will be printed. Print. Percentage of palindrome is palindrome. Okay. That's the explanation for palindrome. The next question is also kind of a different, but you have to read the question properly. And this type of question, you will see that they will give you the logic. They will give you the logic, and based on the logic, you have to take your decision. Okay, you have to write the code accordingly. So let's start it. A small shop uses barcode which represents 5 digits. Very nice. The last digit is used for check digit. We'll understand how they calculate the check digit. For example, A, B, C, D. These are the 4 digit, and E is the 5th digit. The check digit is found by, so they are giving you the logic now, multiplying the first and third digit by 3. So first and third digit by 3. So 0 multiplied by 3, for example, in this example, and 2 also multiplied by 3. Then multiply the second and fourth digit by 2. For example, R1, result 1, this is R2. Second and fourth digit by 2. That means 1 multiplied by 2 and what is that? 3 multiplied by 2. Adding these 4 results together to give the total. So R equals to R1 plus R2. Dividing by 10. So R equals to R over 10. And remainder. So we have to use modulus operator. I hope you remember. That's the logic. So let us see. Remainder is the check digit. So let us say 3 multiplied by 0 is 0. 2 multiplied by 3 is 6. 1 multiplied by 2 is 2. 3 multiplied by 2 is 6. So the result is 14. So 14 divide by 10, 10 goes one time, 4. So remainder is 4. See here, the remainder is 4. That means it's a valid. This check digit is a valid. Okay, so we understand how to calculate using the example they given to us, and I will prove that yes, the number is given here. The fifth digit represents the check digit, and calculating the four digits, we get what is our check digit. Now, what they want from us? Write an algorithm. They teach us how to do the logic, how to implement the logic. We understand also. Write an algorithm using pseudocode or flowchart only, which inputs 105-digit number in the form of A, B, C, D, and E. Recalculate the check digit for each number and check whether the input check digit is correct. Output the number of, okay, that's the main thing, counting. Output the number of barcodes which were entered correctly. So how many correct we have at the beginning, we don't know. Initially, total number of characters 0. So for how many numbers we have to input? 100. For count equals to 1 to 100. So input A, B, C, D, and E. Now our result is what? We are doing it directly. So first and third digit will be multiplied by 3. First and third digit multiplied by 3. Fourth and second and fourth digit multiplied by 2. So B multiplied by 2, C multiplied by 3, and D multiplied by 2. Okay? Then the result will be equals to will be divided by 10. Actually, we have to find the remainder. So result equals to R mod by 10. Right? So now if the result is equals to the remainder, if my result is equals to E, what will happen? Then correct equals to correct plus 1. That's it. So big question, but solution is small, okay? Because you have to read and you have to decide, you have to understand the solution. Next count. Now print. Correct numbers of check digit is correct. So for example, you input 100 numbers. Out of 100, maybe 20 numbers are having correct check digit. Okay, for example. So that's the end of our counting and totaling lesson. Okay, we with the help of another example, I will just show you how to do counting and totaling together. Then we will end our counting and totaling lesson. Okay, let us save this job. I will share my another screen. Okay. In sometime it is possible, okay, that they might ask you a question about where you need to do counting and totaling together. For example, in the month of January, some days temperature greater than or equals to 20, and some days temperature is less than 15, for example. Find the number of days where greater than or equals to 20 and less than 15, along with average temperature of the month. So now you can see here, they ask you to find the number of, that means there are two types of temperature here. Sometimes it is more than 20 some days, and sometimes it is less than 15. So this is counting, and they are asking you also find the average temperature of the month. So that means you need to do totaling also. So how many types of temperature you have? Some days you are less than 15, so this is less. Sometimes it is greater than 20, so it is 0. And you need to find the average temperature of the month. So average temperature is depending on total. So you need to find out the total temperature of the month. So you need to have 3 initialization for 3 variables. So for count is 1 to, as it is a month of January, so we have 31 days. The count equals to 1 to 31 input. Based on temperature only, we are taking our decision. So normally, to find the total, it's easy, right? You don't need to depend on any condition. So we'll do the total at the very beginning, easily. So total equals to total plus the temperature. Next, we will calculate how many times it is greater than 20 and how many times it is less than 50. Now, if the temperature is greater than 20, then greater equals to greater plus 1. Else, if temperature is less than 15, then less equals to less plus 1. And if clear? Then we have to go for the next temperature. So we have to use next count. Print. Okay. Before that, we have to write here average is equals to total over total over 31, right? Then print average temperature is average, and another print is for the counting number of days less than or greater than 20 is greater and number of days less than 15 is less. Okay, so using this question we understand how to combine counting and totaling at the same time. So our next lecture is about comparison, which is super important. Comparison meaning finding highest and lowest, finding the maximum or minimum, finding the mean or low, whatever it is, highest and lowest. First we'll understand the concept, then we'll start the algorithm. What does it mean by highest? For example, you have 5 days temperature, 21, 25, 19, 16, 27. So you need to find the highest temperature and the lowest temperature. So initially we'll think that highest temperature is 21, for example. So 21 will compare with 25. So 25 is the highest. 25 will compare with 19. So 25 is still the highest. 25 will compare with 16. 25 is highest. 25 will compare with 27. So 27 is the highest. So highest is 27. So how can you find the lowest? We'll consider 21 with 25. So 21 is the lowest. 21 will compare with 19. So 19 is the lowest. 19 will compare with 16. 16 is the lowest. So 16 is the lowest temperature. Then we'll print 27 is the highest and 16 is the lowest. I will teach you in 2 methods how to find highest and lowest, because both of the method is important for us to understand the type of question, because you know that also you need to find out the error in the program. So both methods are used in IGCSE to understand, to find out the highest and lowest temperature. Okay. So let us talk, before that, let us understand that what is the difference between these 2 methods. Okay. To understand that, we need to understand what is the concept of the quantity. Concept of the quantity, that is super important. Based on the quantity, you will decide that what method you're gonna use to solve a particular problem. So in your life, we have 2 types of quantity. One is countable, or I mean to say, like, one having limit. Using our common sense, we can understand there is a limit. Another have no limit, right? What does it mean? For example, height of a person. So using our common sense, we can understand that the highest of a person could be like an adult, would be like a 250 centimeter. And if he's 18 years old, he must be greater than, like, unless there is some other issues or abnormal cases, maybe 140 centimeter, right? So this is the range that we can understand, that this height of a person have this range. Weight of a person, minimum he will be 40 kilogram. Maximum he might be 250 kilogram. Depends on the height and other things. Right? Age of a person. So 18 years old to like around 90 years old. So this quantity, we are using common sense. We can understand that the limit of a person, the age of a person, adult, is minimum 18, maximum can reach to 90. Exceptionally, might 100, 120, very exceptional. Okay, so whatever the things that you see in your life, okay, they have limit. Whatever the quantity you see in your life, they have limit. There are another thing which have no limit. Mostly, most commonly, okay, are the numbers. Numbers have no limit. What is the highest number? The highest number is positive infinity. And what is the lowest number? The lowest number is negative infinity. Is this correct to you, clear to you? So in case of limit, we will use another method, one method, and in case of no limit, we will use another method. Okay, but the algorithm that you use to calculate the highest and lowest for highest number and lowest number, using that algorithm, you can solve this problem also. But why we are learning two methods? Because both method is applicable for IGCSE syllabus, okay? So we don't need to, we have to cover everything that belongs to IGCSE. So let's start with the limit. Like the concept of the limit, how we'll find. So initially we'll think that, for example, you are finding the highest and lowest temperature for 1 week. 1 week. Highest and lowest temperature for 1 week. So we have to assume that because any operator, for example, you write greater than, if you use a operator greater than, then you need left hand side and right hand side. So you need a initial value to start the comparison, okay? You need an initial value to start the comparison. For example, the user inputs are 25, 28, 23, 30, 35, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 29, and 27. So this is the user temperature. So initially you should have a temperature which is from your common sense. You write the highest temperature at the beginning. For example, you know the highest temperature in Earth possible, that's 65 degree, and lowest temperature in Earth from your common sense is -20 or -30, for example. Now this is your starting point. This is for high, and this is your starting point for low. Now you start doing the comparison. So initially at the beginning, your initial temperature is 65. So 65 will compare with 25. 65 is greater. 65 will compare with, these are the real temperature from the user, for example, okay? And this is a programmer assumption. So 65 will compare with 28, is still 65. Then 23 is still 65. It will compare with 30, is still 65. 65 will compare with 35, is still 65 is the highest temperature. 29 compare with 65, is still 65 is the highest. 65 will compare with 27, is still 65 is highest. Then lowest temperature -30 will compare with 25. Yes, -30. So we can understand that -30 will be remains lowest from the temperature. But what we understand is the result should come up from the user value, not from the assumption, right? So this is not giving you the correct answer. Highest, if you write highest as a highest, we see that the result is not coming from the user. We can understand that the highest temperature should be 35, but whereas you are getting every time 65. The lowest temperature should be 23, whereas you are getting -30. So here we have to do the trick. At the beginning, you have to think that highest should be a lowest value, okay? Highest should be -30 and lowest should be 65. Okay, that's the trick. You should not think highest as a highest. You have to think at the beginning highest as a lowest from your common sense and lowest to be the highest from your common sense. Now, what is our latest value for highest? -30. Let's start comparison again. So -30 compare with 25. So 25 is the highest. Then 25 will compare with 28. 28 is the highest. 28 will compare with 23. 28 is still. 28 will compare with 30. 30 is the new highest. 30 will compare with 35. 35 is the new highest. 35 will compare with 29, is still 35. 35 will compare with 27, 35. So final value is 35. Let's compare the lowest value. So -65 compared with 25. 25 is the new lowest. 25 will compare with 28. So 25 is the new lowest. Then 25 will compare with 23. 23 is the new lowest. 23 compare with 30 is still 23. Then still 23 is still 23. With 27 is still 23. So this is the lowest value and this is the highest value. Now it seems like the algorithm is working properly. So using this concept, from next class, inshallah, we will learn how to solve the highest and lowest related problems. Okay? Thank you very much for watching and see you next class.